Have economic growth and job creation benefited Singaporeans? And more importantly, as Mr. Liang asked, have economic growth and job creation benefited Singaporeans more than foreigners? Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the short answer to both questions is a resounding yes. This government puts Singaporeans at the heart of everything we do. We pursue growth not for growth's sake alone. We pursue growth so as to improve the lives of Singaporeans. I believe Singaporeans understand and support the government's position. At the same time, we must acknowledge the anxieties that lie behind the members' questions. Responsible political leaders must try to allay those anxieties, not prey on people's fears for political advantage. We have all met Singaporeans who are concerned about the future, especially in times of economic uncertainties. Some may have been displaced and are looking for a new job. Others may still be employed, but are wary and worry whether they are ready for the future. In short, we have all met many Singaporeans who worry whether tomorrow will be better than today. To all fellow Singaporeans, I will say this: we understand your worries, and we will walk this journey with you. The government will always have your backs. This is why we have invested so much in Skills Futures and programs like Adapt and Grow and the professional conversion programs. This is why continuing education has been our priority. If we take 20 years to prepare for our first job, it is not enough for us just to assume that the next 30, 40 years of our career lifespan, we do not need any fresh, new injection of training and skills. We do all this to help Singaporeans to prepare for future jobs so that those currently employed can remain future employed. And as I've always said when I was in NTUC, we are not satisfied to put today's unemployed into today's job. Neither are we satisfied to put today's unemployed into tomorrow's job. We want to prepare tomorrow's unemployed, put them into tomorrow's jobs ahead of time. We are also aware that mature Singaporeans in the middle of their careers may be more anxious about the future. Many of them may not have done any upgrading since they started work 20 years ago after their studies. And I want to assure this group of Singaporeans that the government will do more to support them in staying skilled and employable, not just for now, but also for the future. We will talk more about this in the budget. It is not just about lifelong employment, it is about lifelong employability. The crux of the members' questions is this: have we gotten the local-foreign workforce balance right? Not just in terms of quantity, but also in terms of quality. These are questions that the government and our economic agencies constantly ask ourselves. Too few foreign workers, especially PMETs with skills required for our growth sectors, mean that our businesses cannot seize the opportunities out there and in the process create better jobs for all Singaporeans. Too many, and there will be pushback, especially if Singaporeans feel unfairly treated. It is a never-ending balancing act with difficult trade-offs. I often ask Singaporeans when I meet them, if we can only bring in one more foreigner to complement the Singapore workforce, one more, who will we bring in? Someone who is above our national average, or someone who is below our national average? The most memorable answer that I've ever been given was by a young student. He told me, "Minister, sir, the answer is simple. Bring in the above average one to grow the economy, but below me. Bring in the above average one to grow the economy, but below me." This summarizes the fears, concerns, and aspirations of our people. We know we need the above-average foreigner to complement our domestic workforce so that we can build a more competitive economy and to provide better jobs and better pay for all Singaporeans. But we also know that foreigners will compete with us, and we need to provide some safeguards for our people. This is an evergreen challenge. How do we grow our existing companies and bring in new investment that can create good jobs for Singaporeans? Suppose a Singaporean worker is earning $5,000 today. And we have an option to bring in a new investment that will create 2 new jobs. One paying $7,000 and another one paying $10,000. The Singaporean can only get a $7,000 job today because he does not yet have the skill or experience for the $10,000 job. Should we take the investment? The Singaporean may feel frustrated. He may think that he's being unequally treated because the foreigner earns more than him now. We understand these sentiments. We also want the $10,000 job to go to the Singaporean. But if we do not accept that investment for this reason, it will go elsewhere, and both the $7,000 and the $10,000 jobs will disappear from Singapore. The Singaporean will continue to earn the $5,000 job, and he will have fewer opportunities to rise to a higher paying job. But what is even more important, his son or daughter, currently in school, receiving one of the best education in the world, will not be able to aspire to that $7,000 or $10,000 job. So which is the better outcome, and what should we do and do right by Singaporeans? Not just for this generation, but for the next. Now, is this story very far-fetched? No. It has happened before. Indeed, in every generation throughout our history as an independent nation, we can learn from how the previous generations deal with this challenge and dilemma. In the 1970s, this happened when we went out to attract the electronics industries. Over a span of 3 years, the first 3 semiconductor companies in Singapore, National Semiconductor, Fairchild, and Texas Instruments, created more than 7,000 jobs. But our people did not get the best paying jobs immediately. They certainly didn't get all the best paying jobs immediately. Indeed, many of our pioneer and Merdeka generations work under higher paying foreigners. This was because at that point in time, we lacked the skills and the experience to take the highest paying jobs. But we did not reject these investments as a result. Instead, we worked hard, we learned, we upgraded our capabilities, but at no time did we fear. And in time, we took over many of these higher paying jobs, including the better trained and educated children of the pioneer and Merdeka generations. Many of those early engineers and technicians went on to become senior executives in this sector, and in turn, they mentored a new generation of Singaporean technicians and engineers in the semicon industry that we have today. Today, the same thing is happening in the ICT and software industries. ICT and software will underpin many other industries that we desire to have in the future. Banking, finance, advanced manufacturing, artificial intelligence, precision medicine, and so forth. They all need highly specialized skills and knowledge. When global companies like Google, Grab, and Facebook invest here, the reality is that we do not have enough Singaporeans with the relevant skills and experience to fill all the jobs they are going to create. We have raised our intake of computer science in our universities in recent years, but there is a limit to further increases. Not every student has the interest or aptitude to study computer science, and we also need to groom talent in other sectors for our economy. Young Singaporeans who are coming out from the universities and polytechnics to join these new companies are better educated and have much better opportunities than the previous generations before them. colloquially, as we say, our future generation do not need to take over the jobs of the previous generation, earning the salaries of the previous generation. So do we go out and attract these investments like Google, Grab, and Facebook, not just for this generation, but more importantly, for the next generation? What should our choice be? I say we go for it. Land the investment first, just as our previous generations did in the electronics industry. Create those jobs in Singapore first. Otherwise, we lose the $7,000 job, and we may never get the $10,000 job. Work hard, train our people, upgrade our skills to take over that 10,000 job as soon as possible. But do not exploit the sentiments to create envy, anger, and frustration towards that foreigner who is now taking the $10,000 job. I ask the House frankly, do we agree with this approach? Do we hold that we should reject investment on the grounds that the investment will result in more foreigners in Singapore and some earning more than Singaporeans in the same company? Will we reject the investment from Google, Grab, and Facebook? I think most Singaporeans understand and accept why we cannot reject such investments on that basis. Singaporeans are fair-minded. What Singaporeans want is a fair chance to get that $10,000 job as time goes by, if not as soon as possible. What Singaporeans do not want are unfair employment practices where Singaporeans are passed over for non-meritocratic considerations. The government understands these concerns, and we stand together with fellow Singaporeans on this matter. This is why MOM has the fair consideration framework and is continually updating the system to ensure a fair, level playing field for Singaporeans. This is our commitment to Singaporeans. MTI and our economic agencies will watch over the enterprises to get them to train up and groom Singaporeans as part of this commitment to Singapore. I believe the vast majority of our companies know the deal. They play ball. They groom Singaporeans, not just because we ask them to, but because it makes business sense for them to localize and avoid concentration risks for business continuity, as well as to grow the Singapore ecosystem and win the support and respect of fellow Singaporeans and for generations of Singaporeans to come. That's how successful enterprises have done well in Singapore. However, we do know that there are some black sheep amongst the enterprises. Their employment practices must change. If not, we will come down hard on them. They know this. We have taken actions against them, and we will not hesitate to do so again. Businesses also understand the need to be responsible employers. They keep asking the government to relax the foreign workforce controls because they want to expand their businesses. They tell us that they cannot get enough Singaporeans to do all the jobs available. Our answer to them is simply this: work with us. Help us to manage the sense of fair play and opportunity for all Singaporeans. Our businesses understand this, and they are responding. This government is on the side of all Singaporeans. We will grow our economy and attract investments to create many good jobs for Singaporeans. We will continue to devote resources to help our people stay competitive through lifelong learning and skills upgrading so that they can continue to stay relevant and move into higher-paying jobs. Unlike other countries, Singapore does not need to fear competition, and Singaporeans do not need to fear competition. We know we have to remain open to the world. We know that a Singapore that is closed in cannot survive. We have the resilience to overcome challenges and the means to help ourselves. And this is important. We have the means to help our workers. Not every country can say that. Not many countries have the political mandate, the political will, or the necessary resources to do that for their workers. That's why their workers push back against global integration, trade liberalization, and so forth. But we are different. And we can continue to distinguish ourselves through our tripartite partnership to make sure that our workers are never left behind. That while we seize the new opportunities, our workers will have every opportunity to get that 10,000 job as soon as possible. So long as we have the drive and stay united as one people, building on the strong tripartite partnership, we will win together as Team Singapore. Now, overall, this balanced approach has worked for Singaporeans. Between 2015 and 2018, local employment increased by nearly 60,000 for the whole economy, local employment. The PMAT share of local employment increased to 57%, one of the highest rates in the world. It means that for every 100 Singaporeans in the workforce, 57 of them are in PMAT jobs, one of the highest in the world. And the trend is continuing to grow in that way, because we understand the aspirations of our next generation. If 70% of our people are going to graduate with degrees and diplomas, you can see the tremendous pressure on the aspirations for the next generation. Our youth unemployment is amongst the lowest amongst the advanced economies, testimony to the fact that our education system is providing the right foundation for our people to take up those jobs that are being created in the new economy. This is not something that happens naturally in every country. In fact, in many other countries, many of them in the Asia-Pacific, you will see youth unemployment as one of the most significant challenges for those countries. What about growth in earnings? Growth in real wage monthly earnings for employed locals was 3.2% per annum during this period, higher than the 2.4% per annum in the preceding 3 years, higher than most advanced economies such as the US, which is 0.5%, Japan 0.8%, Germany 1.2%, we are at 3.2%. But let's not be complacent. It requires a lot of hard work on the ITM side as well. ITM is a system that we put in place for us to pull together companies, trade associations, unions, governments, research institutions, all 5 partners coming together to transform the industries. Because the old way of competing to raise productivity just by increasing factor input of labor and capital can only go so far. The next lap of our economic development will require us to increase our productivity, not just through the injection of capital and labor, but through the innovation, the revamp of our business model, our internationalization, our scale economies that we can achieve through expanding our economy, not just in Singapore, but beyond. Now, all these are important work for us to work together to use the ITM as the platform to raise the total factor productivity so that our workers can continue to enjoy sustainable real wage growth in the years going out. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I hope that I've given you a comprehensive answer on the questions that both Mr. Pritam Singh and Mr. Liang asked. The answer is yes. We have done the right things by getting that balance right. And the government will continue to calibrate this balance carefully. That balance is struck by considering 3 factors: the needs of our industries and enterprises, the needs of our workers of this generation, and the opportunities for our children in the next generation. If we get this balance right, as we strive for this Goldilocks balance, we must firmly reject extreme positions. The extreme positions being to open the floodgates and drown Singaporeans. But neither can we take the other extreme position to close our borders and reject foreigners in our workforce. Above all, in this House, we must firmly reject efforts to stoke anti-foreigner sentiments by spreading falsehoods or creating invidious comparisons out of context. This is not the kind of politics we want. With far-right parties in the European continent stirring hate and fear against foreigners for political advantage. This is not how Singapore transformed ourselves from third world to first, and this is not how a confident and capable Singapore should face the future. Yes, the future will pose many challenges, but the future will also pose many exciting opportunities. We'll continue to work with Singaporeans to steer the Singapore ship through the stormy seas, and we'll make sure that we will not allow opportunists to stir fear and hatred amongst ourselves. The real competition is not between the Singaporean versus the PR here versus the foreigner here. The real competition is the Team Singapore comprising of Singaporeans, PRs, and foreign workers here competing with the rest of the world to give our fellow Singaporeans the best chance possible to win, not just only in Singapore, but across the entire globe. That the wages of our Singaporean workers will continue to grow faster than the rest of the other people in other countries. On that note, let us work together to go through these difficult moments.